Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Push the Point, where we have got none other than the semi-finalist Pro Tour champion of London, Max Dieckmann. Boo! How are you, dude?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm super excited because we caught up at Pro Tour and we had this little chinwag about, hey, I'm doing all this, I love doing first take deck techs, and we've got this new high seas coming up, and wanted to get someone to represent the value vampires, and none other than the CEO chairman. Is that right? Are you the CEO chairman, head honcho, big boss of the team?
Something like that. I mean, we do also have an emperor.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, right. But there's there's always, but who advises the emperor, right? Anyway.
Yeah, it's like I'm like the day-to-day business, so to speak.
You're the day-to-day business guy. But I've asked you to come along to have a chat about an incredibly interesting hero, Gravy Bone Shipwreck Looter, which we'll just talk through a little bit of his ability. So his instant, destroy a gold you control, draw a card, then discard a card. Pretty powerful, right? And then he's got, if a blue has been put into your graveyard this turn, you may play cards with Water Grave from your graveyard. So his hero ability, when you first saw it, like what was the first sort of thoughts going through in your head with this hero? And I suppose really because there's allies and stuff, it's a bit complex, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like clearly the devs play Magic because they call him the Shipwreck Looter, and his ability allows you to loot.
Yeah.
So there's that. It's a very, very interesting hero for sure. And it's a very, it's completely new thing, right? We've got the Necromancer thing going on. The class has been teased for a while, but now we finally have the first implementation of it. And there's a lot of moving parts here. And it's a unique hero in a lot of ways. You don't have a weapon. You just have an offhand, which we can go over soon. It's just you already know, like from reading this text, that there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of pieces that have to interact together in order to make your powerful play. So
okay,
it's very interesting.
So what I want to do, this is going to be a little bit different, right? As recommended by Max, because Max is a man that likes to do things a little bit more interesting and different, right? So you are going to show us through your versions of how we got to where we are. So instead of just diving straight into the latest version, and if you are interested, obviously just skip ahead and go to the latest version. That. But we're going to start from 0.1, where we started from here, okay? Now, there's clearly 3 bits of equipment that we are, the compass, right, is always just going to be the straight up one. But we've got dead threads and baited hook. But I really want to start off with clearly the compass, how massively integral this piece of equipment is to this hero. So yeah, let's start from there.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way you're not playing this.
No.
they made sure that you do, because the second line of text says that you're the only way that you can actually play your allies in like a way that makes sense is when you have the compass equipped. Mm-hmm. Because you always, generally speaking, you want to play your allies from the graveyard, and that way they have go again, which means that the first ally you play, you can then also attack with it, or you can play 2 allies in one turn, for example. And this is also already hinting at one of the main issues that Gravy Bones has, which is action point economy. Unlike other heroes that have like board states that create big board states, he really has a very limited access to action points. And so that's one of the big reasons why you really want to have the compass, because it gives you basically another action point every time you play an ally from the graveyard, and that is actually very important. Mm-hmm. As all of the allies themselves are actions, and so you can't just play put 5 allies in the graveyard, play them all in one turn. It's not that easy.
No. So the instant look at the top card of your deck, I imagine a lot of people are going to be overthinking this, and I've been one of those sort of people, and I don't think it's exclusively the correct way to play this, that I tend to actually just use this on their turn, on the opponent's turn. I want to kind of just sort of plan ahead about what am I blocking here. I don't want to then look at it on my turn, but not always, but anyway, yeah, the instant bit. Look at the top card of you there.
Yeah, I think the second line of text makes it so that we always play this, and then the first line of text is the actual ability of the weapon,
yeah.
where you start using it and then you're like, oh, that's actually very, very strong.
Yeah.
And it allows and it's actually also a very important part of the deck. Because you are interacting a lot with the top of your deck with this hero, drawing, discarding, so you know what you're going to draw. And then you, as you will later on see, you have like a bunch of cards that will also allow you to destroy the top card of your deck, put it directly into your graveyard, for example, and things like that.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful ability, and notably the fact that you can only do it once per turn cycle is a real restriction, a real cost, because you have several times, like sometimes it happens that you actually don't really need the information, let's say, to make your turn, but more often than not, you definitely are very interested in what's on top, and there are definitely turns where you would love to look at the top card of your deck 2 or 3 times in that turn, but you can only do it once. So actually, knowing when to activate this is going to be a key skill that people have to develop. I think, as you already alluded to, the default one is I'm being attacked, and before I make my block, I want to know exactly all of the things that the maximum information that I have access to. So I check the top card of my deck, and then I plan my turn that way. That's probably the most common pattern, but it is not always the correct play. Sometimes you kind of know already that you're going to loot. So maybe you just want to like do a blind loot and then have the look afterwards, because you might have more things planned on that turn. So
Absolutely, it's an awesome piece of equipment. Let's go on to Dead Threads. I think this is a bit of an easy one, right?
It is an easy one to read and to see that, oh, this is very powerful. It is, however, actually not an easy one to play. I have noticed very quickly that I have so many turns where either I don't put an ally into graveyard on that turn and I want the resource, or even more often what happens is I did put an ally into my graveyard on this turn. I have the extra resource, but I have no way to spend it.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually very interesting. And I think it's not Dead Thread's fault. I think the card is extremely powerful. And I think this is more a question of, very complex hero. We don't really know how to build it yet. And we don't know how to play it yet. And I think the better we get at playing and building Gravy Bones, the better we're going to get at using Dead Threads more often and making use of the resource more often as well. Because if you can activate it every other turn, oh my god, it's so powerful.
Oh, yeah. And I think everyone else has probably had a run around with Grave Bones, and I'm having fun with this with you, because out of the other 2 heroes, I ain't jumping around with this. I'm playing a hell of a lot of Grave Bones, and everything you said is like, yeah, pretty much. I'm like, it's called change at this point. Like, one resource. Okie dokie. But every now and then it does come around and you're like, oh, yes. Thank you so much, Dead Threads. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here. But then you sometimes go, could this just be Tunic? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Sometimes you just go,
yes,
could this
absolutely.
be Tunic? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. But it's in. And then we got gold baited hook. All right. I was a little bit like, no, it's fine. This card's awesome.
It's not fine. It is very, very, very strong.
Yeah.
I think, there's 2 things. First of all, it's battle worn.
Yeah.
So you can just, whenever you block with it, is amazing. So battle worn so much better than blade break. And then the other thing is that this is probably just going to stick around if you play it in the right way.
Yeah.
Against some aggressive decks, you might actually want to like use this effect aggressively and be like, okay, maybe I will lose the equipment on this turn, but I forced them into a block that they didn't want to make. And more often than not, you're just going to get free gold because they're not going to block. And the other thing that is actually important here is that the card doesn't care whether you made the gold from the attack. So you're going to have a lot of turns where you can actually tap it for free, because you're going to make a gold in some other way on that turn anyways. Yeah. And so one of your attacks, you can just give this on hit. And, if they block it, then whatever. And if they don't block it, then hey, that's a free gold. So yes, it's a very, very strong card.
I found very quickly thinking that Dead Threads is going to be like, oh yeah, this is strongest card. You need it, essential. Now I'm like, no, gold bait your hook, man. Let's just make anything an on hit whenever I want. And it's just like, yeah, this card, I absolutely loved it when it came around. But clearly these three are your good core 0.1 starters. I think we're all in the same boat with you. Let's talk about this starting position of your deck then. Lead the way.
Yeah, so this is going to, as you can see, this is a hot mess. Yeah, none of this makes any sense.
Yeah.
This is just a bunch of random stuff. But so what better time than high seas to teach a man how to fish? Yeah. So the idea that I
Yeah.
have here is I wanted to tell you a bit more about how I actually approach building a new deck of a completely new hero
Mm-hmm.
where we don't know anything about it. And what I like to do is that I want to go ahead and just we have the hero text and the weapons, or like in this case the offhand, and they tell us already something, right? They tell us a story, they tell us something about the hero identity. And what I want to do in my very, very, very first draft is I want to just go as hard as I possibly can on that hero text.
Yeah.
Yeah. You notice that there's actually no red cards right now. Well, one red card, but
Yeah.
basically no red cards here. There's none of the like actual good cards. There's no CNCs. There's no sync belows. There's none of that stuff, right? It's just um, allies and blue cards,
Yeah.
because the hero text says allies. Well,
Yeah.
it says Watery Grave, but kind of the same thing, and it says blue cards. And so that's why what I did here is I just put a bunch of blue cards into my deck that said like discard, or draw discard, or create gold. Because that also allows us to draw a discard. That are also maybe cards that can give go again to our next attack, because again we're struggling, like there's this action point thing that we have going on. Just majestics that are like pirate majestics, which we're assuming that they're going to be strong for our new pirate hero. And then the rest of the deck I just put in a bunch of allies, and I put just 2 of each. Basically every single ally that was available, I just put 2 copies in. And the point of this was not to win a game. I did not care about winning a game.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do is I wanted to find some stuff out. I should mention here that the first 3 versions that we're going to show you, or that I'm going to show you, are actually from before all of the cards were spoiled. So there's
Right.
actually some key pieces missing here, which we're going to see a bit
Yeah.
later. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter that much, because we can still, with this limited information and the limited cards that we have available, we can still get a lot of information just from playing literally a single game. So this version that you see right here, I played 1 game.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of information from that, because that was the first game I ever played with the hero. And the main thing that I wanted to really know is like, well, which allies are actually good? Like what? Because in the beginning it's so much information, so much text, and you don't really know how anything works. So I think it's the best thing is to just throw some stuff together, take it for a ride, and then you will immediately get a much better understanding. Not only of the cards that you did play, but also evaluating the cards that you didn't play, because
Okay.
you start to see the patterns. You start to see like, oh, how many resources do I have in every turn? What are kind of like the issues here, etc., etc.
Okay.
So if you want, we can actually just take it right away to the next version.
Yeah.
And it should also be mentioned. So I had a couple of cards that were like, when you discard this, something happens, because again, that's also like part of the hero ability, and I want to find out how good they were.
Yeah.
And if you scroll all the way down, you can see that there's like some cards that are now in the maybe section and no longer in the deck section.
Yeah.
And those are specifically Shelly and Kelpie.
Yeah.
Because the one game that I played, I immediately realized that those guys are not constructed level cards. At least in my experience, I didn't think they were good enough. Kelpie, I was thinking maybe this is kind of like a mirror tech thing potentially, but I think now at this point I'm pretty low on this card in general.
Okay.
And then we can see I've put in one Conqueror of the High Seas. I didn't put this in initially because, well, I was like, okay, this card it reads so well, there's no way it's not good. So I don't really have to test that yet. Now I just had like a slot free, and I was like, okay, let's throw in 1 copy so we can actually see if it is as good as it looks. And then I added some more copies of like Fiddler's Green and Fool's Gold, because in the game that I played, it didn't really come up as much. And I was like, okay, having that extra discard outlet, getting something out of discarding cards, maybe that's an interesting direction to take this. And then I played a few more games with this configuration. And again, my main focus here was just to see what are the allies that overperform, what are the allies that underperform, what are the blue cards that over and underperform, what are the issues with the deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say and if you want, you can just take it to the next version.
Yeah. I mean,
We're kind
I'm
of
loving
rushing.
this,
We're
by the
kind
way.
of rushing. Yeah, we're
But I'm
kind of
loving
rushing
this.
through this a little bit, but don't worry. In the final version, we will get a bit more in depth about what I learned and like what the
I'm
core
loving
cards are
this.
that I identified.
This is an amazing like journey. I'm
Um,
watching the conquerors of the high seas go.
yeah,
Yeah,
they go up.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
good.
yeah. So basically, I was able to kind of like narrow it down a bit more here, and I realized, so for example, I had way too many allies. I mean, that was kind of like not a big surprise to me, but you can see now in this version, this is the first kind of like somewhat sane version, I would say, of the deck,
Yeah,
where we have cut down to 15 allies.
yeah,
Um, and we have added like a couple of red cards, Conquerors of the High Seas, no surprise, they
yeah.
were good. So we have 3 of those now. I also realized that action points is really like a big concern. That's why I added this Paddle Faster card. So that's a go again card. Again, keep in mind, this was this is the last version before all of the cards were spoiled, by the way.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like desperately looking for a go again. And another reason, another thing that I started to realize is that with the card pool available, one of the big issues, and I think this is still like a problem that Gravy has to continuously go against, is that discarding cards is actually like not as easy. Like you have it on your hero ability, with the crack a gold and you can draw discard, but you can only do that once per turn cycle, right? Because you have to tap your ability, tap your hero to do that. And so I started to realize that like putting allies into the graveyard and discarding cards is actually not as easy as it might sound. And so that's why you see that I am starting to cut like some copies of Fiddler's Green and like going a bit lower on Sea Legs and Fool's Gold, that kind of stuff, which is just like basically discard outlets.
I'm watching this Fool's Gold journey like intensely.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was pretty sure that it's not going to be in any kind of final version, but that's kind of like the point of this kind of exploratory process, is that you also do some stuff that is bad. Like you're not trying to do like the best thing initially. You're trying to find things out.
Yes.
Yeah, you're trying to get to and that's why I think you should try stuff that's a bit like off the wall in order to explore a bit more about like what is actually good. And in the same vein, for example, as you can see, all of the 5 allies that I'm playing here right now are the common allies, right? They're all the draft chaff.
I know.
Right?
I was sitting there going, "Where's Chum?"
Yeah, where's Chum? Yeah, the reason for that is, again, I was trying to find something out. I had played a few games and I was like, okay, Chum is great. So I know Chum is great, but I don't know which of the other allies are great. And so that's why I took Chum out and put in like the commons, because I wanted to find out which are the best of those, actually, which are the ones that overperform here. And I kind of like spoiler alert, I was like Cuddy was underperforming. Barnacle was also I would say kind of like I was starting to evaluate him lower and lower, because a lot of the time what happens is that so Barnacle basically costs 2 resources to play and attack.
Yeah.
And Rigor Mortis is the same. It costs 2 resources to play and attack.
Yeah.
Now then you have on the board in one situation you have an ally with 3 health that can attack for free, and in the other situation you have an ally with 1 health that costs 1 to attack with. However, in my experience, allies would die very often and very quickly. So in most cases, people would just send an entire attack at whatever ally was there, and 1 health and 3 health in a lot of matchups is kind of the same. They need to spend a card to go ahead and kill it. Obviously, against ninjas, different story.
Yeah.
But now we're getting into matchup specifics, and we're not really at that point at all yet. We're still trying to figure out what even is the core of the deck. And so that's why kind of like my evaluation of Rigor Mortis was increasing and my valuation of Barnacle was decreasing. Things like that. But that's the kind of stuff that you find out when you just like remove things that you know are good and just put in stuff that you kind of not really sure whether they're good.
Okay, right. This is cool. It's cool. I'm intrigued to see are we? So Are we moving on over to the
Yeah,
next version now? Is
let's
that
go.
all
Let's go.
cards?
Next version.
Is that 0.5 or is
It's no, it's just the next one in the
all
list.
cards
It's all
0.
cards. Yeah,
Right, all cards.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now finally we have
Oh,
access to
all
all of the
cards. I
cards.
get it now. Right, yeah. All
Yeah.
cards are
So
spoiled.
now all of the cards are spoiled. This is the after the world premiere, and now we have access to all of the cards.
Yeah.
And we can see first of all in the equipment slot a new thing has appeared. The
Headstone.
headpiece.
Yay.
Headstone, yeah. So I was playing before either like a blocking equipment or the Crown of
Providence.
Dominion. Providence?
Or is it
Dominion, right? The
Dominion?
one that
Oh,
makes the gold.
the one that makes the gold. Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So the one where you start with the gold.
Yeah,
Because you can like draw and then discard an ally,
yeah.
or you can and the thing is also, by the way, a play pattern that I've been that I started to appreciate more and more in Gravy is a lot of the time what you want to do is actually you want to so the idea is like, oh, you have to play a blue card in order to then play your ally.
Mm-hmm.
But as we all know, playing blue cards, like playing them out, is usually underrated.
Yeah,
Because it's a blue card.
yeah,
There are some exceptions, and of course, Gravy has like some pretty good blues actually that you do actively want to play. But a lot of the time, the best thing you can actually do is, instead of playing the blue card, is you discard it. And that is another thing that I started to learn, is that the loot effect, like once you have your ally in your graveyard, oftentimes you're better off looting away a blue card, so you don't have to play it out, and then you can pitch another blue card and play your ally out, or like make your play your turn
yes.
in your normal way. And so that's why I was like, the draw discard effect is very strong. But what I realized as well is that in this common equipment, if you have an ally on top, let's say, and then you activate Gravy, you draw the ally and you discard the ally. Or if you have a blue on top and you want to like put a blue in your graveyard, you draw it and you discard it. It's actually the same as just destroying the top card of your deck. So looting, of course, there are situations where looting is much better than just destroying the top card of your deck. But a lot of situations, destroying the top card of your deck is kind of the same as looting a card away if you do it in the right spot. And now this common equipment also has Battle 1/1. So unlike the Crown of Dominion, you can also block with it once per game, whenever you want. And then you also have the ability to do this effect whenever. Like, you're not bound to any like specific timing. Just whenever you want to do it, you can do it. And of course, another upside is that you don't tap your hero if you have both, right? You can destroy a top card of your deck, and you can also tap your hero to loot.
Okay, I'm really excited. So now I'm loving this more than everyone. I'm really sorry, but Yorgos, Daniel, you're gonna have to do it this way. This storytelling journey is. I'm now going like, oh yeah, that's what I did, Crown of Dominion, and actually explain it. You're like, oh yeah, it is the same thing, right? Headstone, isn't that just Crown? Yeah.
It's not the same thing, but
it's not
kind
the
of
same
is the
thing,
same
but it
thing.
kind of is the same thing. Block one.
And I know that a lot of people are very high on the armor piece head, which is Blade Break, and when you block with it, you can discard an ally and draw a card. I think I haven't actually tried it out because I just didn't have time to try everything,
good.
But I think that's both of those headpieces have like their pros and cons, because here you have like a more control over your timing, and then in the other one, you might be like, oh, it's so great, I get to discard an ally which I have in my hand, which is like rotting in my hand.
Yes.
But speaking of allies, discarding allies and cards rotting in your hand, the biggest thing that we got from all of the cards that were spoiled are the commons, the bones, the jittery bones and the restless bones. These really started to unlock the deck. Before, these three versions before, I was just losing every game. It wasn't close in a lot of time, in a lot of instances. Of course, I wasn't that focused on winning. I was like trying to figure stuff out. But really, these cards made such a big difference, because now all of a sudden you have such an easier time to put your allies into your graveyard, either from the top of your deck, which is obviously the best, or from your hand, and it's still like, in a lot of instances, kind of like an okay value proposition to do that. And I've been like super impressed with those, and currently playing 3 reds, 3 blues of both of those. I think once we get to like the more the newer versions, we might be going down there a bit, changing a bit.
We'll
I'm not
see.
100% sure if you want to play those 12, but it's definitely some amount of those cards you're going to play 100%. Another
Yeah.
thing you can see, Conqueror of the High Seas, of course, now 3 copies, no surprise there.
Yeah.
And the Majestic Defense Reaction, also a great card for the same reasons that the Bones cards are great.
Love this
However,
card.
I want to point out, also playing a little bit around earlier with like some defensive options,
Mm.
Sink Belows or whatever. You don't. I think Gravy is an interesting hero in the sense where it's not like Enigma, where you play a board state and then you want to protect it, and then you can protect it with defensive cards. So Enigma had this thing where like you would make a board, and then depending on what you draw, you would either defend it or you would let it die and make another board.
Mm.
Gravy doesn't have that luxury, because if your opponent decides to clear your board, you don't have any choice in the matter. And if your hand is full of D-reacts, you look like a clown, right? Because now you can't rebuild, you don't have any offensive output, and you just kind of like, attack for 2 and pass the turn or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that means that in general, I think you want to make sure that you, in Gravy, you play less defensive tools. Basically, at any given time, you want to be prepared and be able to have an offensively capable output in your turn, because otherwise you run into this problem where you have a good turn, your opponent clears your allies, and then you just lose all the tempo and probably the game because you can't really convert your hand.
Absolutely. This
So
this card to me, when I was just running around with it, was like, I love it, but I also hate it. Like there's times you do just go, right, let's have a look at Blood in the Water, man. Like, no, I don't want this card. And it only rarely does come up. It rarely comes up. And when it does, it is amazing when they go, all right, I'm going to come and do this thing for 6. And you just go, oh, Blood in the Water. And it's an ally on top of my deck. Block for 6. The value is so insane. And you go, and the guy's
yeah.
like, oh, it must be nice. Yeah, but it doesn't actually it doesn't actually happen that much. But it is.
It doesn't happen. It's still good enough, of
It's
course.
still good
0
enough.
for 4. The floor being a 0 for 4 D-react, like, come
Yeah,
on, like it's amazing.
it is good.
You will always. I think this is a slam dunk. You're always going to play it, but
Yeah, but be mindful. But now we've got
yeah.
now we're moving over. We've got some other allies now. We've got the Oyston Heart of the Gold. Carry on. Let's continue this journey.
Exactly. So we're continuing on. So Armory deck has been spoiled as well. So we've got the Oyston and we've got the Sawbones.
Yeah.
So 2 new allies, and I hadn't played those before. So obviously the next version that I was going to play, I just immediately put those in, trying to figure out, are they good? How good are they? Do I want them? I also put in the Fabled from the set as well, because it creates a gold. We like gold.
Everyone's
Then
spooking
again,
this. Everyone's spooking with
everyone's
this card.
spooking. We'll see
We'll see.
how we develop there, but like Gravy is already playing a lot of cracked baubles, so any additional cracked bauble you play is a
Yeah.
is a bit, there has to be a very good reason to do that. So
Yeah.
we'll keep an eye on that card, but it's there for now. And then moving on, I think the last thing that's interesting about this build is a lot of amulets.
Yeah.
And the main reason for this was like, probably we're not going to play all of those amulets, but we want to find out, are they any good? And if so, how good are they? And one of the biggest things about these amulets is there's several things that are going on here.
Yeah.
First of all, they are a blue card. So if you happen to discard them from the top of your deck, you don't have to do any extra work. You can just play them out. And they have go again. You can play them out with go again. So it's like an E-pot with go again that you just develop on your turn, and then it's there, right?
Yeah.
It uses up your 1 go again from your compass for the turn. But it can still be like a strong play pattern, like you have the jittery bones, like 0 for 4, discarded amulet from the top of my deck, develop the amulet, and that's already like a good turn. And maybe if you have another follow-up, amazing, right?
Yeah.
And the other nice thing about the amulets is, so it's is that these 5 ones that you see right here,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that they have in common is that you can activate them on your turn for a desirable effect, and they don't cost your action point when you do that.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's important is, again, this is another way to get the blue card into your graveyard on that turn. So if you so you can get into situations where, let's say, you block with 3 cards, you keep a blue card in your hand, you have the Ruby Amulet on board, you crack it, you play your Swabby with the blue card in your hand, and then with the 2 resources you attack.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you have with 1 card and the Ruby Amulet on board that you're using up now, you develop an ally that attacks for 7 and also now has to be cleared by your opponent, and you're only using 1 card for that. You got to block with 3 cards. Or you have other play patterns, like you have maybe you play your Conqueror of the High Seas on that turn, right? And now you have 2 resources floating, you want to do something with them. So maybe you can now like crack one of your, crack the life gain amulet that you happen to have on board. Now the blue card is in the graveyard. You can play an ally out, attack with it, and things are looking nice.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's why I like the amulets.
Yeah.
And again, here we're just kind of like jamming all of the amulets that give you that option into the deck, and see which ones are good, which ones I like.
All right. Okay. So now we're on to the allies and amulets section.
Yeah, basically that's kind of like the what I was talking about right now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like pushing this a bit harder. This idea, I realized I like these amulets, so now I'm like, okay, let's just try all of the amulets.
Yeah.
And I'm also trying to. I've put in a few more allies. So right now, initially I had like way too many allies, then I cut down to 15 allies, and now this one has 18 allies again, because I was trying to figure out how many allies do I even want. I'm still not sure about this, by the way, but 18 allies is the amount that are in the armory deck.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this again was just kind of like a intermediary step where I was trying to figure out for some allies whether I like them, how much I like them, and then the amulets, how much of them do I want, which ones are the ones that are really good. And yeah, obviously this version of the deck blocks very bad. We have 18 allies, 6 amulets or 7 amulets or something like that, so we don't block almost at all. So probably not the best way to make it, but again, we're not trying to win, we're trying to figure stuff out.
Okay, now we're on to 0.5. Okay, so
yeah,
we're pulling all this information in together
now. Exactly. Now we're starting to try to make something reasonable. So now this is like kind of getting closer to getting very close to what I'm working with right now. You can see, like, for example, 3 of the blue restless bones have been removed, but like the other 9 copies of this kind of effect are still there.
Yeah.
Like the jittery bones blue in particular are still like very good because they cost 0. Put a blue card into your graveyard and they're only slightly below rate, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Still block for 3, etc. All of the good stuff is here. The charm is finally here. You see, I've cut 3 allies again, so we're back to 15. We put in some loan sharks again because I started to realize, oh, actually, we do really. We're kind of like struggling with gold now, and I want to have some more options to loot when I need to.
I'm intrigued with Loan Shark near the end about your journey with it, but we'll get there when we get to the final version.
Yeah. And you can see now the allies that I'm playing are actually getting closer to what I would now consider are the best allies. So Charm is obviously great. Sawbones is great. I think Rigor Mortis has always kind of like overperformed. Swabby has also been like very strong in my experience because people tend to you get a lot of time you get in a situation where people try to fatigue you, or that their out is fatiguing you, and this is basically the ally that hits the hardest, apart from the really big guy, of course, the Humperdinck.
Yeah.
But it also has like a very it has a good cost curve. Yeah. Because so it costs 5 in total to play it, and if you have the 2 for 6 that gives go again.
Yeah.
If you mill an ally, that's a total of 7 in order to play the Swabby and then attack with it after you play that.
Yeah.
So the was it the Restless Bones or the other ones? Yeah. And
Yeah.
so if you scroll up a bit, the Restless Bones, yeah,
Yeah.
the 2
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
6, exactly. So with 2 blue cards and the resource from your chest, you can go Restless Bones into Swabby. That is if you put a blue card into the graveyard that turn, but maybe you can draw, discard a blue card, or maybe you have an amulet on board, as we talked about. That's
Yeah.
another good use case for the amulet.
Yeah. I'm loving these amulet choices, man. I am
Yeah,
looking at
so
this opal amulet. Going, does it make it? Does it not? We shall see.
yeah, the opal amulet is probably the one that is the most suspect. But for now,
But we're
it's
talking.
in
But
there.
sometimes you're saying about like near the start of this journey about the compass, man. That you go, oh, I want to know what's on the top of my deck, and then that's kind of handy. Then I use it, and then I know what you mean. It is handy for that to just go. Well, I can actually opt, not just look. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There is some.
it does. It comes up.
It does come
But
up.
again, more than anything, it's a way to put a blue card into the graveyard on demand.
Okay.
And it is a hit for the bones
Yeah.
off the top of the deck that you can also then, depending on what the rest of your turn looks like, you might just play it out, and then you have it banked for another turn.
Okay. Are we ready to reveal the latest version?
Let's go.
Let's go. And here we are, everyone. We're here. We've done it.
We finally got there. Although getting there is a bit of a, there's some asterisks there.
Yeah.
I think what we probably realized is the deck is very complex, a lot of moving parts, a lot of options, a lot of different ways you can take it. And so by no means is this something where I'm like, okay, this is the perfect way to build it. You can tell it by the fact that I don't have any matchup specific configurations yet.
Yeah.
And there are still like a bunch of cards which are maybe suspect a bit, but yeah.
Well, let's go through it then. Now that we've got to this point, I feel like I've got a lot more context now to ask you these questions, right? So we talked about Blood and the Water, we talked about Conquer the High Seas, and we talked about the Jittery Bones. That all makes sense. So let me just go through the allies bit. So I don't think I need to talk too much about Chum. He is pretty much like on the wall, very, very strong. But in general, I guess really, all right. What did you find with Chum that makes him and maybe Sawbones just they are auto free copies? Need these 3 in. What are they doing for you?
I mean, Chum does so much. First of all, his cost is it's very favorable because the 4 cost you can do it with the chest, so that's fine. Yeah, a reason a reason for the chest resource. He has like a great stat line. 6 health is like a big butt. It's very hard to clear. The fact that he attacks for free as well is also great. So it is a real threat. Like your opponent can't just ignore it and just send everything face, because then you just block with your hand and you still swing for 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then the instant ability is something that can really mess with your opponent as well if they're not careful. Depending on how they do their turn, sometimes you can really catch them where discarding a card at the right time can like blank an attack effectively.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chum is a very strong card.
Yeah, I always found as well that discard a card with Watery Grave, that effect is actually. Now, don't get me wrong. Until the end of the turn, opponents must target this, right? But I think the actual discard a card with Watery Grave is like
Also
possibly
good.
I felt like most of the time some of the strongest bits because people just go, all right, here you go, C into your Chum, and you go, all right, well, before I'll just discard. I'll just set up. I'm never going to stop setting up. I don't have to use my hero. I just go, cool. I get a free discard an amulet, discard an ally, whatever. It's just perfect, right? It's just beautiful.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so,
Sawbones,
yeah,
similar thing. Playing it and attacking with it is exactly 1 blue card, which comes in handy if you, for example, loot a blue card into the graveyard or put an amulet into the graveyard, and then with 1 card you can just play and attack with it. 6 attack for 1 resource is a lot. The 2 health is kind of whatever. It's not a lot, but they have to clear it anyways.
Yeah.
And then the instant comes up also, especially if your opponent ignores your allies and you start to have like 2 of those guys on the board. Now things get kind of dicey because, and then maybe you have one of those and you have a chum on the board. And now they have to send, you can force them to attack the chum, and they need to send 7 power into it to even kill it. And that's not every turn of every deck is even capable of doing that. So Sawbones has also been performing very well in just for both reasons of having a good stat line and also having a relevant effect that you can use in case that you're not going to be able to use all of your action points on that turn.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the other heroes, okay? So you've ended up with 3 copies of Chowder.
Yeah, this is a bit of a work in progress
Yeah.
testing kind of thing. But Chowder has, from the common allies, apart from Rigor Mortis, where we get to after, consistently overperformed. Just the ability to gain the life at instant speed has been like very strong. So at the very least, you play him out. He attacks for 3.
Yeah.
Then 1 attack goes into him, but he also on his way out, he also gains your life.
It's value,
which
right?
Is it's just good. It's just a good rate. And then he's one of the allies where you're just like super happy to just have him on board, having be ignored, and maybe have another ally that you attack with that does more damage, and you just keep like activating him and just keep gaining life. So it is just kind of another one of those allies where your opponent is kind of like, you can't really ignore it because it will keep accumulating value if you just let it sit on the board.
Yeah. So what's the downside? What's the not sure part about him?
Yeah, the not sure part of this is of course the return that you get if it's just cleared immediately, let's say, because you have to pay a whole 3 resources into it. So if you compare it to Sawbones, where we did the same thing, it's you put it into play, you attack with it once, you gain a life. So in total, you get 4 points of value out of it, let's say, and one attack of your opponent. So about like let's say 7. I mean, he has 3 life as well, but
yeah.
And Sawbones will attack for 6, and it will eat an attack. It has 2 life, but almost every time your opponent is going to need to put like a card's worth of value into it in order to kill it. I mean, also it can like prevent 1 damage, so just attacking for 2 is not enough. So it does the same thing, but it deals 2 damage more on just a 1 turn cycle.
Okay.
So instead of gaining like a life, it deals 3 damage.
Yeah.
And so if you compare those directly to each other, then Chowder in that scenario looks worse. But then, of course, if you extend it over several turns, it can be different. So
okay, right. And then we've got Anchor. So I can see that in your inventory, you got a second copy of Anchor, Moray, Lefay, and Whaler Humperdinck, right?
Yes.
But so I suppose we'll get to that bit later on, but how have you find him? I still think the discarded card Roy Grave part is like one of the best, one of the stronger bits, plus his cost curve and everything.
So because it was initially the rule, there was like some unclarity about how the rules work. I actually didn't play Anchor for the longest time because I didn't want to because I was like, there's no way you're gonna stop your opponent from drawing up to 4. Like that would be silly. And so I just didn't put him in my deck. So I haven't really tested this one sufficiently. And I think probably as with Chum, the ability to discard a card with Water Grave is nice, but also realistically you don't really like, ideally that's not what you want to do, right? Because
No.
yes, it is like good to have a water grave card in your graveyard for later, but you would much rather be able to convert it like directly into kind of offense. um like you would much rather have no water grave cards in your hand and just have them on top of your deck, and you know what I mean, like to have the maximum value. um but yeah, it can still, I'm sure, come up. And yeah, like we have one copy here, just as we have one copy of a bunch of other allies, because the idea is that Call to the Grave is effectively a tutor, and so we can choose. So we want to have a wide range of allies available to us, so that depending on the situation, we might want to take one or the other. And then we have like some more allies on the sideboard for like specific matchups where this kind of stuff might come up more often. So let's say against Brute, uh, who are going to draw like extra cards, we want to have more copies of Anchor. And against decks that are looking to potentially fatigue us, we want to have more Humperdinks, and things like that. Also, you might notice that I'm now on 66 cards here instead of 60.
Yeah.
Because I have also realized that one of the main things that you continually have to fight against is that you might get fatigued. And so we're hedging, and we're actually building a deck with more than 60 cards as like a core deck in mind, so that we're insulated a bit against fatigue. And again, Call to the Grave helps us out a little bit there, where if we need a specific ally, we can kind of like find it from the deck if we need to.
So I can see as well that well, I'll jump back here with the allies in a bit, but I think it's pretty fair to say that the consistency of the blues that you picked, with the inclusion of the loot, the hold, and loot the arsenal from the armory deck being slotted in, was just replacing some other blue block threes that were okay. But do you know what I mean? This is
Yeah.
pretty much just doing that role, but it blocks the three better. But Give No Quarter, Chart the High Seas, Murderous Rabble, Call to the Grave, and Avasti, and Tip the Barkeep made it through the entire journey of where to start. Which and imagine Portside Exchange as well. They made it through the entire journey of all of this. So it just goes to show that these cards pretty good, right? Pretty good,
Yep.
and they're
Pretty
pretty
good.
straightforward to explain what they do. So we're not going to have to go into too much major detail on that. Let's get
Yeah,
back.
I mean, they,
Oh,
they block for 3, right? And
yeah,
then they all do something where you like, I don't feel embarrassed playing it out as a blue card, for the turn.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. So the allies. We talked again about Swabby. I like the fact that you got 3 copies of Rigor Mortis. Again, it's that value proposition I really like.
is that
Limpet.
value proposition? And again, it's also the cost curve, right?
Yeah,
Because it's 2 costs to play and attack. And again, you have the situation where you attack with the Restless Bones, you pitching a blue card, and then together with the chest resource, you have exactly 4 to play and attack with the Rigor Mortis, and that's obviously an amazing
yeah,
turn cycle. And yeah, and sometimes you might also be in a situation where you can play you end up putting an ally into your grave. You have the rigor mortis still on board. You end up putting an ally into your graveyard, and then you just go activate the chest, attack for 6, arsenal my last card, something like that. So, but usually it doesn't survive. So
No, usually it doesn't. Limp Biscuit, Limpet Hop Along, Fred Durst and
yeah,
herself or himself.
yeah.
How did you find this card, man? Like, I think the go against the bit, right?
Yes, I think I like it. I think it's good, but the fact that like so you still have to play it out, and that still kind of like costs an action point. Yes, the first water grave card you play from graveyard has go again, but you can't play this and another ally and attack with both,
No,
right? At least not without playing like another card that allows you to do that effectively.
sure.
Or like activating your boots, by the way, Mage Master boots, shout out.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, good card. And so, I think it kind of comes up in the more so in the matchups that are trying to like block you out. Then it gets a lot better. I used to have more copies. This is a card where I'm constantly going up and down in the amount of copies that I'm playing. I might end up with 0 in the end. I might end up with 3. I don't really know yet.
I find that I don't know about you, but I felt like that card is the okay. If I'm playing up against something aggressive, it's just not good enough. If I'm playing up against something, again, that's just like okay, you're trying to prolong the game a bit. Yeah, this card feels like it's doing a lot of
It
work.
depends. It depends a bit on like how easy your opponent has, like how hard it is for your opponent to do
Deal with
1
it.
damage.
Yeah.
Because if they have to send an entire card into it, then you're also, I think, not too sad about it.
No.
So if they have to head jab it, let's say. But again, if you compare it to like other allies, where you like play them and attack with it on the same turn, 2 is not a whole lot. But of course, you usually do it in a way where you then also can spend the action point that you still have afterwards. So.
It's amazing if they just leave it, and then you go, oh, okay.
Oh
Now,
yeah,
oh
of
yeah.
course.
Now we're
You have a
cooking.
Zephyr. Now you have a Zephyr Needle on board.
Now this one, Moray Le Fay, I can't sell me. I couldn't. It feels good.
It's kind of like it's actually similar to Limpet, I would say.
Yeah.
Because it gives you something to do without spending your action point. That is furthering your game plan. Again, I think it's the same situation where you want it against the slower decks because then you can like maybe have a turn where you develop 3 allies, one of them being Murray, and then you put like a counter on one of the other allies, and then they have to clear that first, and then you get to the counter on the other ally, and then play another ally on that turn, and then you can keep the Murray like they never basically have the time to clear it, and then she keeps just sticking around, putting counters on, like letting you convert a resource into a point of damage, and potentially even like if they can't clear whatever ally you put the counter on, maybe you can even like swing with it again. So effectively it did 2 damage, and it can kind of like snowball a bit. But yeah, I'm also not, as you can see, only 1 copy in the deck, so not as sold on it. And the idea here being a bit like it has its spots where it's probably good. So having a one-off in a deck with access to a tutor, that's kind of the idea here.
I think that's cool. As well as from hearing your journey about the change you get from dead threads. Just feels like it's also one of those cards that goes, well, what do I do with the dead? Oh, well, okay, boom, boom. Just here's +1. There you go.
Yep.
It
On
seems
Limpet as well.
On Limpet as well.
Play Limpet. Loot a Limpet or like put a Limpet in the graveyard. Play it. Dead threats. Attack for 2.
Oh.
I don't know. Play a potion or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Right. So Humperdinck, Whaler Humperdinker. I mean, we all love it, right? We all saw it. We're like, 11 and 7. Numbers go big. Yeah, also cost goes big as well. How do you? I think it's probably safe to say this is going to be you're trying to fatigue me, you're blocking me out a lot. Here we go. Have a big 11, right?
Yeah. So I think probably having like just 1 copy as kind of like a safety valve in your deck is not going to be a bad idea. Because I think a lot of decks can kind of like flip their game plan once they realize that they're not going to be able to kill you, and then they just start clearing your allies. And then having something like this, where especially if it's a deck that it's not, they didn't immediately were like, okay, I'm going to fatigue you, but they were like, maybe I fatigue you. Like kind of like these mid-rangey decks, which are, they can block, they can attack, and they can like force you into like playing a bit more loose with your cards, blocking a bit more, and then all of a sudden they flip the switch, and then they start killing your allies and looking for the fatigue angle. But that also means that they traded a bit on damage as well, so they're not like a full blockout fatigue where they're still at like 35. They're still got lower as well, and then something like this can help close out the game in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
And of course, currently 1 copy in the sideboard good chance we end up just playing the full 3 for matchups where we kind of know that they're going to try to fatigue us, and then that's kind of our way to combat that. Just put some Humperdinkers on the board and swing with them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
because it is just some amount of the damage just can't be blocked, because you put it on the board, you attack with it. They have to keep some cards because they have to deal 7 damage to kill it. And so, yeah, some damage is going to leak through, and if you can do that 3 times per game, then there's a good chance you're going to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll sort of go through these last little bits. So the Loan Shark's made it through the whole time. I guess it's still blocking for 3 and creating that gold has just been a handy part.
And also for the web for the hook, no, for the arms piece.
Yeah.
So on the turn where you know you're going to play a Loan Shark, you can tap this every single time on whatever breakpoint you might have, and you're guaranteed to not lose it. So.
Do you ever do the discard effect, or was it always lose 2 health?
No, I would say it's discarding more often than losing 2 health, actually.
Okay.
Because if you happen to have like a water grave card in your hand that you kind of want into your graveyard anyways, you couldn't block with it, and you might just go ahead and discard it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. The amulet's made it. The diamond amulet, you don't need to sell that. I mean, that's
that's the best one.
That's the best one, yeah. All right, but the open world amulet made it, and I know
it's still in there.
Work in progress, everyone. So don't be like sitting there going, Max has said. So if you've heard this whole thing, it's about trying and experimenting. But I kind of really excited to see this at the same time.
I know the amulets are a bit contentious. Also, like within my team, a lot of people are trying the hero out. Some people really don't like them. I personally just like them a lot. I just like seeing them on top of the deck, or like this ability of like sometimes you just go like over the course of the game you put a bunch of them in the graveyard, and then you have like sometimes a turn where you just go just somehow get a blue card into my graveyard and like play out 2 amulets.
Yeah.
Go. Right? Yeah. And then you just have them there. They're just sitting there, and then at a later point in time, you have access to this resource where you can then just go, I can play out my turn, and I don't have to worry about putting a blue card into my graveyard because I can just crack one of my amulets and then play my ally that way. I think it's very nice, and also like it's on top of your deck. It's a blue card that you're happy to put into your graveyard, which then also turns on your gravy to play an amulet on to play like an ally on that turn. So maybe your turn is just like I'm attacking with a go again attack, like with one of the bones attacks, mill an amulet, but then I don't play the amulet, I play a different ally that I already have in the graveyard, things like that.
I think the ruby amulet, like the diamond amulet, and I think the second one is that ruby amulet is like,
yes,
that one looks so good just to go, oh man, okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, pop ruby amulet, 2 resources, play rigor mortis, attack with rigor mortis.
Yeah, so I would say it's diamond, ruby, then next best is probably the life gain.
Oh yeah, the one I can't even say either.
Yeah, that one.
The
green one.
The green one. Yeah. So yeah, gain 2 life. Just boom. There you go.
Gain 2 life. It's not bad. And of course the opal one being the most suspect, and but the pearl one is also very interesting because you can do you can do some shenanigans with that one for sure.
Yeah.
Like untap an ally, attack again if you have an extra action point, let's say.
Untap a gold baited
hook. Untap a gold baited hook. Untap your hero, loot again. Untap your dead threats. Why not? Make another resource, right?
Bam.
It has there's a lot of like, spin the basketball on your finger kind of stuff that you can do.
I love it. The thing is, I reckon that one probably will. I don't know how far I'll make it, but it just feels like that one is going. Look, how we're tapping, and it's a strong ability, but you can only do it once. Why if I said you could do it twice in a turn, whenever you need to, is kind of good. It's kind of good. Right. Let's talk about some inventory, and then we're going to wrap it up from there, everyone. So, the headstone kind of gas to see that made it all the way through. Then I go down
Mhm.
and Crown of Dominion is still
Still there. It's
still
still
there.
kind of it's kind of a bit of a maybe actually in this situation. If you scroll down, I
Yeah,
ought to also put the other headpiece in the armory deck headpiece in the maybe right
yeah.
there. I think that one is it is probably between this one and the common equipment. Although Crown of Dominion maybe also might make it, but it's one of those three, I think.
One of those three. Okay, and then the chest and
Yeah.
the arms, we're in. We're locked. There's, or maybe the
Yes,
yeah.
except the chest piece from the armory deck. I've also heard it's also in the maybe right now. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I haven't tried it myself, but that one might also.
Yeah, I
Maybe it could be a matchup thing. Maybe against aggressive matchups you want this.
that's I looked at this, and the first thing that went into my head, and I know it's not the same card, but it is the oh god, it's the Runeblade one. I've played it so much, but now he's been living legend for 2 seconds.
Oh
I've
yeah,
removed, yeah,
Ether Ironweave.
Ether Ironweave. It's Ether Iron.
Yeah,
Like in a way, it's Ether Ironweave. It's that
yeah,
okay, Pam. Okay, just get rid of this amulet. Get rid of this whatever. Free resources. Just I need free
yeah.
resources right now, and that's like or heart and cross strap. Just go here. You go.
I mean, the
I
thing
need
is,
it.
like, you have the card in your hand, you could just pitch it. But obviously, the point is that you can put an ally into your graveyard whenever you want. So
Yeah, that's the thing. It is even if you had that amulet, for example, it's the only time you really want to do it's amulets or allies. So you're either going to get 2 resources or 3.
well,
But
or it also allows you to do this what I was talking about, where you might need to put a blue card into your graveyard on this turn, and you have no way to do it, and then this way allows it to do it without, and you're still pitching it at the same time.
yeah, it's just
So it's like you turn any blue card into like a port side exchange, basically.
it's really and it's really and Battle Worn 1 like
And Battle 1/1, yeah.
that's I did see this and kind of gone like I don't know, bro. This is really good. But okay, so the chests we're having to still playing around with. I love it. Gold baited hook. It's kind of
I do think though that, like, ideally we want to have our deck be constructed in a way where we maximize that threats, because that card is just so strong.
yes, 100%.
Like,
But
if our deck is constructed good, like, well enough, where we activate this thing like 4 or 5 times per game for like value, then it's like, okay, that's where we want to be.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Now the feet are Mage Master boots and Quick Dove flexors. I can see where because we've got a lot of blues and a lot of yellows, right? So if you're going
Yeah.
against an aggressive matchup, I can see this Quick Dodge Fletchers is going to go do 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 do. I've maximized the blue really really well here, and then the Mage Master boots is get out of jail free card.
They're great.
Yeah,
They're just like, you can double ally. You can even triple ally if 2 of them come from the graveyard on a turn.
yeah,
It allows you to, or like, yeah, it allows you to just extend your turns. And yeah, they can just bail you out, I would say, and a lot of
yeah.
times. And again, I think in some matchups, it is part of the core game plan where you want to just put so many allies on the board that your opponent, like in one turn, that their opponent can't deal with it, and that's one of the things that allows you to do that.
Awesome. Right. To summarize this amazing story that you've went through with Gravy Bones, it's what are the what are the things that you found he's weak to and struggling with? Like
Um,
matchups or something that you just like, this isn't good. I really don't
yeah,
want to
I
see
mean,
this.
I think that the main weakness that I found, which I personally always have, which is something that can make me not want to play a deck as well, I'd say,
Yeah.
is that it feels always as if you're the one who has to worry about fatigue. So
Right. Got you.
no matter what matchup, almost, there's always this looming threat that the amount of damage that your deck can produce is finite. And if your opponent manages to survive it, then you just lose by default.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing, and that's going to be like the best decks at doing that are these kind of like mid-rangey decks, maybe like or your warriors, let's say. They force you into like blocking a bunch, maybe even over blocking because of their reactions, and then at some point they might be able to decide to just like start clearing your allies, or even incidentally, they have access to enough go again where they don't really struggle as much with clearing your allies while also threatening your life total, and this kind of like makes it so that you end up just spending too many cards and getting fatigued if you're not dying before that, of course. And then the other thing is the ninjas, of course, Mask of Momentum. Every time you play an ally based deck is not something that you would like to see. There, I'm not sure yet. We will see how it develops. It might be possible to do this thing where, like Enigma effectively did, where you end up just, yes, you have like this natural disadvantage maybe against like these go wide strategies, but you can play by nature of your cards that you have access to. You can just have such a strong overrate game where you just like present really good numbers by the end of the day. And you end up just being able to beat your aggro opponents by just outvaluing them in a kind of short game with big attacks.
Yeah.
So we'll see
I'm
how
sensing
that
that.
turns out.
I'm sensing that with him. There's these ships in this set, right? And
It's big ships.
there's some big ships in this set, and I feel like there is a world where you can actually, like, you know how we just never use Phantasmaclasm forever, and then Enigma goes, you know what? Phantasmaclasm is like pretty good in this.
Yeah.
I feel like there is like that somewhere.
There's even a world where I think where we play the common ship,
Yeah.
the big one.
Yeah.
Because that's if you have a gold and you have a blue card on top, and you know what your top card is, right?
Yeah.
You can just use a gold and 2 cards to come in for 9. And it's not, you can't pop it, right? It's just a big old
It's just a big
it's just a
fat
big old
nine.
boat.
Yeah.
It's a big old boat.
So yeah, ally commit or whatever.
Yeah, you're like
Limp
whatever,
Bizkit.
ally schmally, just here's a boat.
Yeah, it is Limp Biscuit
It's
in a
just
boat.
yeah, exactly.
That's good. That's fair. All right, and then I suppose really we're on the high on this end. What's his like fun best things that you found about this deck? What's the thing that you like loving
It's very fun to play.
Yeah.
Because there's so many, you have so many buttons that you can press.
Yeah.
And when you figure out the line, you feel like it feels so nice because you like, you're like, okay, but like it matters at what, like, when do I even look with my compass? And then like I have all these resources because I start to like accumulate gold as well, and then also my graveyard is a resource that starts to accumulate, and then like, how do I maximize this? What can I do? And then you look at your hand and it's like, it's kind of bad, and then you think about it and you think about it and you realize actually I can like have this crazy turn, because I tap my hero and then like I draw the right card, and then all of a sudden this hand just converts into something like extremely powerful. So yeah, I think it's not easy to play at all, but it is very fun to do once it starts to work, once the gears start to turn, once the things start to click, and you start to like see the patterns a bit of how you play it. It's actually very rewarding to do so.
Awesome. Max, thank you so much for your amazing journey. We've basically literally everyone jumped onto the gravy ship with Max, and he has given us a cruise of his time on learning this hero, and it's not over, right? This is just the first. This is where we are now. The journey, but the joy isn't the end; it's the journey, right? So, play this deck. I hope you enjoyed it, and then just figure things out, man. Get some big ships in. Don't get some big ships in. Just have a go. But Max, just thank you so much for this. This was awesome.
All right, thank you for having me.
Thank you. See you later, guys.